I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? Hope you guys are doing well, doing blessed, having a good day, having a good week. UFC 294, Islam Makhachev versus Alexander the Great Volkanovski. And the co-main event is absolutely insane. A fight between one of the best to ever do it, Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. My goodness. Now, before we get into making fight predictions, may we look at my bets from last weekend. These were the bets I posted on my Patreon. Now, half of these bets won and half of them lost. All of the prices were decent prices. I think my biggest bet was -125. So I broke even, or if I'm being completely honest, I did make £1 profit, which is kind of funny. But yeah, we go again. I've already got one bet locked in for UFC 294, but let's look at the MoneyCity champions and only 2 winners from last weekend. So massive shout out to both Michael and Shoujo. May these brothers win again. Let's go. And don't forget to do this to the like button. Alright, moving into the first matchup on this card, we've got Bruno Silva taking on Sharabudtin Magomedov, and this one's an absolute banger. Now, both of these guys have serious fighting in power. We've seen Bruno Silva compete multiple times in the UFC. He's coming off a loss to Brendan Allen, where he actually got dropped by Brendan Allen, which is interesting because if he's getting dropped by Brendan Allen, good luck against Sharabudtin Magomedov. And typically when you see the name Magomedov, you're thinking grappler. But he's not a grappler. He's a super good striker. He's got power for days. And someone's got to get dusted. You know, someone's got to lose this matchup, and it's got to be inside the distance, probably round 1. I'm going to side with Sharabudtin Magomedov. His kicks are extremely quick. The dude hits like a truck. And yeah, Bruno Silva's getting dropped by Brendan Allen. He's going to get dusted by Sharabudtin Magomedov. Alright, moving into a matchup between Frey taking on Viktoria Dudakova. Here's the thing about Frey. In round 1, her boxing's sharp. Her boxing's pretty good in round 1. She's not a bad fighter. Decent power, decent technique. She looks good early in the matchup. Now, the problem with Frey is how badly her cardio fails outside of round 1. And more than once. It's happened more than once. Frey has shown major problems with her cardio. Now, on the flip side, we've got Viktoria Dudakova, who's only 24 years old. Primarily a grappler, who hasn't been tested that much. You know, hasn't been tested as much as Frey. However, mixed martial arts isn't a competition based on who's been tested the most. It's just something we consider. The inexperience of Viktoria Dudakova isn't a concern here because we know she's going to be persistent with the takedown, and Frey gets tired and essentially gives up. So I'm going to side with Viktoria Dudakova to get a stoppage on the mat and potentially late. Alright, moving into a matchup between Nathaniel Wood taking on Naimov, and there's only one way that Naimov wins this matchup in my opinion, and it's the same way he won his UFC debut against Jamie Mullarkey. In order for Naimov to win this matchup, it's gotta be a TKO stoppage. Now, some people may look at the career of Nathaniel Wood and point to the time John Dodson dusted him late in that matchup, or Andre Fili catching him cold early. However, for the most part, Nathaniel Wood is extremely good. Boxing, calf kicks, footwork, cardio, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, speed, Muay Thai trips. He's extremely good is the prospect Nathaniel Wood. Naimov has to find a big KO in my opinion, and I'm not going to be predicting that to happen. My prediction will be the prospect Nathaniel Wood. Alright, moving into a matchup between Anshul Jubli taking on Mike Breeden. I predicted Anshul Jubli to win his UFC debut earlier this year as a slight underdog. He's now getting a great opportunity to win his second UFC matchup, and I say it's a great opportunity because Mike Breeden is really bad. He's really bad. He's nowhere near UFC caliber. Anybody that loses to Mike Breeden, in my opinion, they should automatically be released from their UFC contract. So yeah, I do kind of see this as a step down in competition for Anshul Jubli. Whether it's striking or grappling, I do think he should take care of Mike Breeden. and I'm going to say Anshul Jubli via stoppage. Alright, moving into a matchup between Sedriques Dumas taking on Abu Azaitar. Now guys, I forgot who Abu Azaitar was. Then I realised I was actually at his UFC debut live in Germany back in mid-2018 when he fought Vitor Miranda. And he's coming off a loss to Marc-Andre Barriol, and that was over 2.5 years ago. So it's a big concern to me when I see a fighter that's massively inactive. You can't really claim to be a fighter when you don't fight. You know what I'm saying? You cannot. And that does seem to be the case with Abu Azaitar. His striking is also pretty lazy. Now, on the flip side, SD Dumas had a horrible UFC debut where he was essentially ragdolled by Josh Fremd, of all people, which is kind of funny. He completely dominated Cody Brundage, and I took Dumas as a slight underdog. Now, guys, the only concern I've got for Dumas here would be just being stuck on the mat. You know, the takedown defense really isn't good, but will Abu Azaitar show good cardio and a strong ability to get the takedowns at this point in his UFC career? And I say at this point in his UFC career like he's had an extensive UFC career. That's not the case. You know, very inactive. So yeah, guys, in my opinion, Dumas does seem like the better prediction to make. The only concern would be getting taken to the mat. You know, that's the concern. But the person who's got to do that is old and inactive. So I'm going to side with Dumas via head kick stoppage or guillotine stoppage. Alright, moving into a matchup between Javid Basharat taking on Victor Henry. Now this should be an extremely easy prediction to make for multiple reasons. Firstly, we've got a big age gap. You know, Javid's 28 and Victor's 36. With that type of age gap at bantamweight, my goodness, it's a massive advantage. Then you look at Victor Henry against a Suncell. Victor Henry legit struggled to find the target against a Suncell, and that's kind of embarrassing because a Suncell was like 40 years old and stuck in the mud type of footwork. Now Javid Basharat has extremely good footwork. He's quick, high output. He gets better as the fight goes. His grappling's very good. His IQ. All of these things show in the performances of Javid Basharat. So yeah, pretty easy prediction to make here with a dominant 30-26 or 30-27 or even Javid Basharat to find a stoppage. Easy pick. Alright, moving into a matchup between Muhammad Yahya taking on Trevor Peek. Now guys, after watching the tape on this matchup, I quickly arrived at the conclusion there's no way this matchup goes the full 15 minutes. Muhammad Yahya has been dropped more than once. On the flip side, you've got Trevor Peek, aka Trevor from GTA. Now Trevor Peek is an absolute maniac, just like Trevor from GTA. 0 to 100 from the first second. Now, this fighting style is pretty fun to watch. It's very fun. However, the downside would be getting tired too soon. But like I said, I'm very sure this matchup wouldn't go the full 15 minutes. Someone's getting dusted. So really, the lock prediction, in my opinion, would be the fight doesn't go the distance. You know, picking Muhammad Yahya or betting Trevor Peek, it's kind of risky, but I do think both guys are going to engage in complete chaos and the fight's not going to go the full 15 minutes. But yeah, the prediction I'm going to make is Trevor Peek. I'm going to side with Peek. His fighting style isn't really the type of style I like to bet. I do like to watch that style. It's super fun. You know, purely from an entertainment perspective, it's super fun to watch Trevor Peek fight. But from a gambling perspective, super risky. Alright, moving into a matchup between Tim Elliott taking on Muhammad Mokaev. And guys, I do think this betting line's a bit crazy, but at the same time, I've already predicted Mokaev to be a future world champion at 125, and that was before he made his UFC debut. So how can I really think about picking 36-year-old Tim Elliott? Mokaev is fresh, his wrestling is extremely good, technically sound, and he's physically strong. Mokaev is a real problem. Now Tim Elliott does have the experience, he's seen more than Muhammad Mokaev, but what's scary for these old timers is they understand the game. They understand fighters who are 21, 22, 23, 24. These fighters are hungry and they're ready to make a name off the veterans. Now, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes the veterans remind people, which is something Darren Elkins did last weekend. Will Tim Elliott be successful in representing the old-timers, the veterans of the game? In my opinion, no. So give me Muhammad Mokaev not only to win the matchup, but to do it in fashion to find a stoppage against the veteran Tim Elliott. As always, guys, if you waited to smoke with me, amen. You've been smoking this whole time, double amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, that's always been a triple amen, gang. Let's go. Guys, I cannot wait. Khamzat Chimaev versus Usman, Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev, Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. Guys, come on. Come on, heads are getting spun. Guys, even the early matchups, Bruno Silva and Sharabudtin Magomedov, Nathaniel Wood, Javid Basharat, Mokaev. Oh my goodness, let's go, let's go. Alright, moving into a matchup between Nurmagomedov taking on Gafurov, and low-key, this is a banging matchup. Nurmagomedov has flashy striking, he's got the ability to grapple. Gafurov typically likes to strike too, and he can also grapple, so both of these guys bring a good amount of skill to the octagon. However, the energy expenditure of Gafurov is not good. His cardio is not good. He lost his Contender Series matchup as a massive favourite, and then he looked a couple levels below John Castaneda, specifically with the boxing. Now I'm assuming he would look a couple levels below Nurmagomedov, and Nurmagomedov does use a lot of energy with his spinning attacks, the flashy attacks, so it's not impossible for Gafurov to find success if Nurmagomedov slows down, but it does seem more logical to side with Nurmagomedov, and that's going to be my pick. Alright, moving into a matchup between Aliskerov taking on Alves, and this fight prediction should be extremely easy. What's the reason this fight prediction is easy to make? Well, the matchmakers said, who can we give Aliskerov so Aliskerov wins again and probably wins by violent KO fashion just like his UFC debut? Who should we give him? Maybe someone that doesn't move their head. Maybe someone that's got the cardio of a man with one lung. Maybe someone who, you know, maybe looks like their career fell off a little bit with post-USADA. Maybe someone that's willing to exchange and not run from the fight. Let's send Alves to the UAE on short notice. Great idea. Aliskerov via complete dusteration. Alves is done for. Aliskerov is a high-level combat sambo player, and there's a very, very good chance that he completely dusts Alves, and that's my pick. Alright, moving into a matchup between Johnny Walker taking on Magomedov and Ankalaev. Now guys, I picked Johnny Walker at plus 150 to beat Cutelaba. I bet Johnny Walker at minus 175 against Jiu-Jitsu specialist but terrible at everything else, Paul Craig. And I bet Johnny Walker plus 100 against Anthony Smith, which, you know, still confused how Johnny Walker was plus 100, but yeah, I've been making money on Johnny Walker matchups. I've been making money like Moicano, you know what I'm saying? However, is it fair to say Magomedov and Ankalaev is by far better than Cutelaba? Is it fair to say he's by far better than Paul Craig and also Anthony Smith? I think it's completely fair to assume it's a massive step up in competition for Johnny Walker. So we asked the question, how does Johnny Walker win this matchup? Either he finds a big KO stoppage, which would be crazy against Magomedov and Ankalaev, or he lands a bunch of calf kicks, is able to maintain a good range, and essentially wins the matchup by outclassing Ankalaev on the feet, which isn't impossible. It's very possible that Johnny Walker could implement that type of strategic game plan. Calf kicks, footwork, speed. You know, that should be what Johnny Walker looks to do. However, guys, I think Johnny Walker probably gets tired midway into the fight, and that's where Ankalaev either finds a big KO stoppage on the feet or gets takedowns to win the remainder of the matchup. I do think the betting line's pretty disgusting, but give me Magomedov and Ankalaev to find a late stoppage or to win on the scorecards. Alright, moving into the co-main event, it's an absolute insane fight between one of the best mixed martial artists to ever do it, Kamaru Usman, versus a fighter that's known to pretty much anyone that doesn't live under a rock, Khamzat Chimaev. Madness. Now I'm going to say what I'm about to say, and some people won't like it, some people actually disagree with it. But as The Rock said, it doesn't matter what you think. Khamzat Chimaev is going to ragdoll Usman. He's going to ragdoll him around like he's never wrestled a day in his life. And you know what's crazy? Never did I expect to say such a crazy statement. Kamaru Usman getting ragdolled? In what universe? On what planet? Well, this universe and this planet. And don't forget guys, this matchup is a win-win fight for Usman. If he loses the matchup, that's okay. Zero preparation and also fighting up at middleweight. However guys, if he wins the matchup, Obviously, the hype of Khamzat Chimaev just took a massive hit. So it's a win-win matchup for Usman. Zero pressure. Nobody's putting high expectations on Usman to win this matchup. So it's literally a win-win fight. However, he doesn't win. Khamzat Chimaev wins, and he actually finds a stoppage on the mat against Usman. Khamzat Chimaev, via complete dusteration, he ragdolls Usman, breaks him, smashes him, domination, light work. Alright, moving into the main event, we've got Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be as confident, as opinionated with this main event as I was with the co-main event. And it's for obvious reasons. Alexander Volkanovski does have 2 working kneecaps. He's not old, and he's proven he can wrestle with Islam Makhachev. Now, when I say he can wrestle with Islam, what I mean by that is defensively, Alexander Volkanovski is very good. The takedowns aren't going to be easy for Islam, and to secure them, it's also not going to be easy, as we saw from the first matchup. Obviously, Volkanovski does have the better striking in this matchup. Not that Islam Makhachev has bad striking, it's just that Islam would rather grapple with the opponent. Now guys, Alexander Volkanovski has the type of mindset where it's not over until he wins. And betting against those type of people is extremely dangerous. You know, these people thrive off proving others wrong. They live to prove that that was wrong. And I love that mindset. That's Alexander Volkanovski. So I'm not going to say that Volkanovski can't win the fight. He's got a chance. Islam Makhachev isn't going to change much from their first fight. He's going to do the same thing. Try to stay nice and composed on the feet. Try to control the range between him and Volkanovski. And once Volkanovski overcommits, gets too close, that's where Islam's going to look for a well-timed level change. And in that exact moment where Islam shoots a nice takedown, we're going to see, is Volkanovski too difficult to hold on the mat again? Or can Islam establish a dominant position on the mat, which obviously wasn't easy first time round? Both of these fighters have excellent cardio. Both of them have a strong determination to win. It's going to be a great rematch that every single UFC fan is going to want to watch. And my goodness, it's a difficult pick to make. It doesn't matter what pick you made in the first fight, whether you took Islam or Volkanovski. And some people that picked Islam Makhachev, they think he won 4-1, which is kind of funny. But on the flip side, you've got people that picked Volkanovski and they say it was a clear win. So I think both of those people are wrong, in my opinion. The reality of what actually happened, in my opinion, it was a very close matchup, and it's probably going to be a close rematch. So yeah, the prediction I'm personally going to make, I'm going to side with Islam Makhachev. But yeah, it's difficult to want to pull the trigger at -300. You know, that's difficult, especially seeing how good Volkanovski did in the first matchup. But yeah, I cannot wait. As always guys, let me know you're taking in the main event, the co-main event, your parlays, your straight bets, your doubles, your MoneyCity bets. Drop all that in the comment section below. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky and never glued to your shoes. Peace.